Hey everyone, welcome back to the Castaway Consultants, where we teach future Survivor players how to play the game by critiquing current players. I am one of your three co-hosts, Derek Kupacek, and today we are going to be looking at the premiere of Survivor Season 47, one glorious and perfect episode, Long Live Jelinski. I am joined tonight in person by two fabulous co-hosts, Ryan Stacy and Josh Wessler. How you guys feeling after that doozy of a 2-hour opener?
You know, I'm just sad because I'm realizing now that we're not the only podcasters in this world.
Yeah. Why are we not the first people to represent the podcasting community on Survivor? This is BS. Next season.
Yeah.
Season 48. One of us needs to be on there.
All three of us.
All three of us.
I feel slighted, and no, Ryan's not hinting at anything. None of us are on season 48.
Or are we?
Or are we?
We are not.
Or are we?
We are not.
Stay tuned to find
out. And
out.
if we were, we could keep a secret, but we're not.
Or can we?
We've gone off the rails, and we are 5 seconds in.
Welcome back, everybody.
Yeah, welcome back. It's Survivor 47.
Yay!
We did it. Long off season, but we're back. Exciting Survivor. Messy first episode.
Kicking it off with some questionable gameplay.
Yeah, lots of it. Yeah, I wrote down on my list like who played well and who sucked, and there was a lot of people who were sucking.
Yeah, I recommend everyone to go out and watch the episode before listening to this, because it almost felt like it was a different flavor of Survivor. It felt like production found a way to tone back the ridiculousness of their interference, but still make it fun and maybe up the difficulty level a little bit with respect to the advantages that are out there.
I don't know. It was kind of the same as last season.
Slightly more difficult.
It is a tweak, and you know, before we even get into it, I'll just say I like the tweak. I like the tweaks that we got from the premiere, and I'm excited to talk about it. So do you guys have anything else, or should we be jumping into this cast sooner than later?
I don't think so. Just, you know, if anything, if there's anyone new that joined along since the end of last season, end of season 46, maybe you found us during our rewinds that we did in the off season. But yeah, we typically go into all spoilers here. Mm-hmm. So as I would hope you would expect from a Survivor recap.
We'll be spoiling the episode greatly. Completely in its entirety. So yeah, if you're new around here, welcome. We'd love to have you. Get ready for some Survivor 47 spoilers. We'll watch the episode first.
Yeah, and we never jump right into spoilers, so you always have time to pause us if we're in your queue and come back later.
Yes.
Or if you're like listening to us from 5 years from now.
Oh yeah.
Who knows?
All right. Spoiler in 3, 2, 1. Josh, I know you are greatly in mourning tonight.
Yeah. It's disappointing.
We lost the biggest name coming into the season, John Lovett. He's out first. Disappointing. I really wanted to see what this guy would do. And yeah, it was a little bit self-inflicted, but really, he shouldn't have gone home here.
Shouldn't have gone home. We'll get into that part. But yeah, so a little self-inflicted. I was really excited to see what he would end up doing, just because he is a very good storyteller, which is another thing I'm going to bring up when we get to it later. Just weird, really weird that this is the second season in the last 3 seasons that there's a podcast host or not podcast host, but like either a host / guest on a podcast. Back to Emily Flippin a few seasons ago. That's just like worlds colliding.
Yep, we have a little bit of worlds colliding tonight. Worlds apart, not so much. Worlds colliding is what we're doing.
And I'm not even talking about the Survivor podcaster on here.
But yeah, John Lovett is fairly well known. I think all three of us were familiar with him to some extent going into the season. I had never listened to the podcast, but I knew of him. I believe we had interacted once on Twitter.
Yeah, I've been listening to his podcast a lot, given that we, in the meta, are high tide in political season right now.
Yes.
And so, I mean, I've been listening to a couple different things in his podcast, Pod Save America, Love It or Leave It, 2 of them. So big fan of him as a content creator, and very sad to see him go. But with all the love in the world, because he told me to and he invited me to, haha, John, that I'm just kidding.
I'm not going to laugh.
If we were friends, I would, but I genuinely feel like we missed out.
Yeah.
Well,
America missed out.
Play better.
Reverse the boot order of this season. I don't know how it's going to play out, but reverse it.
Strike that. Reverse it.
Should we go over this cast, though?
Yes.
Yeah. A little bit more. So we start, obviously, with the Yellow Gata tribe. We mentioned John Lovett, podcast host from LA. One and done for him. One glorious and perfect episode. And the other 5, Andy Ruda, an AI research assistant from Brooklyn. As someone who's very anti-AI, I'm not going to speak for you guys, but this is an anti-AI podcast. I'm speaking for you guys. I hope Andy is actively trying to sabotage AI, and if he's not, I'm rooting against him.
I'm rooting for the guy personally, and I'm rooting against him professionally.
Yes.
I'm rooting for him professionally, but not in his current field. Because I'm also pretty...
Sabotage it.
I'm also pretty anti-AI, but more so because I feel like this technology bringing people back from like the dead, I don't like it. I don't like it.
I've seen the Terminator. I've seen the Matrix. It doesn't go well for us.
I'll stand up for AI on this podcast. It has the opportunity to do amazing things in this world. I doubt it will, because bad things will happen first. But if those bad things didn't exist...
So I am actively rooting against Andy from the get-go.
I'm rooting for him personally.
We have Annika Dar, a marketing manager from LA.
Yay, marketing!
Shut up, Josh.
I am also actively rooting against Annika because she's in marketing.
No!
We have Rachel Lamont, a graphic designer from Michigan. Sam Phelan, a sports reporter from Nashville. And Sierra Wright, a nurse from Pennsylvania. So that's the Gatsa tribe in yellow. The Lavo tribe in red, also the Lava tribe. That's how I remember.
That's how I'm remembering it as well.
Someone who I was familiar with before the season, Asia Welch, a IT consultant from Houston. She's also one of the correspondents on Rob as a podcast. So I had heard podcasts with her before. I know her main focus is Big Brother, I believe. So I haven't listened to a ton of her podcasts, but she pops up in other ones, Survivor-related content. I know they do some like games and stuff on our app, and that she's been in part of. So this is someone who is a Survivor podcaster, who's actually being brought onto the show for the first time. Like this has happened. Like we've had obviously like Steven Fishback, who's a Survivor podcaster, but he was on Survivor first.
He was a contestant first,
Yep.
and then made it his job.
Yep.
This was, you were a fan first professionally,
Yep.
and then you became a Survivor contestant.
Which is really cool. The closest I can think we had before this was, I believe, Nick Majorano from Co Wrong was a Survivor blogger before he was on Survivor.
So does this make us more or less likely to be on Survivor in the future? Because it's already been done.
I guess it depends how well she does. Maybe she's like fantastic. They'll be like, oh, we got to get more of these Survivor podcasters on the show. And then we get on.
If that was your Mark Burnett or your Jeff Probst, that was awful for both.
That was my Hollywood producer.
Oh, okay, that's really good.
Oh, Joey's agent from Friends.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
You're going to be Al Pacino's butt double.
I have not seen that episode, but that is my my Hollywood producer voice.
I feel like John Lovett. All of my references have been completely dated already.
True.
You're old.
We have Genevieve Mushalak, corporate lawyer from Winnipeg.
Hey, just up the road.
Yeah, just a couple hours from us.
Genevieve, 4 hours south. We'll take
Come on the podcast.
We'll take you out for some poutine.
Honestly, she might be the Survivor contestant who lives closest to us. And it's in another country. Keyshawn Patel, an ER doctor from San Francisco. Rome Cooney, an esports commentator from Phoenix, Arizona. Okay, quick aside. I found out this week that Phoenix is like the 5th most populated city in the U.S. What the hell? Why do people live there?
I don't know. It's hot.
The consistency of the weather.
5th most.
It's just hot all the time.
Consistently bad.
I don't think it's consistently bad.
They just had I think it was 113 days in a row of over 100 degree temperatures.
I'm going to be that guy. It's a dry heat.
No.
I reject it.
I reject it. Don't live in Phoenix. What is wrong with you people?
Live wherever you want.
Well, yes, live wherever you want.
I guess, but like, what is wrong with you that you want to live in Phoenix?
Sorry to all of our Phoenix listeners.
Well, tell me I'm wrong. Like, what
You're
is
wrong.
No, okay. Anyone besides Derek, tell me I'm wrong.
For all the Phoenix people out there, we are in Fargo, North Dakota.
Yeah.
Which is
Do with that what you will.
I don't like the heat. Any of our Phoenix listeners, please message us and tell us what you find appealing about the Phoenix area. Please, let me know.
And then we'll visit.
No, never.
Fargo is about as opposite of Phoenix you can be in the continental United States. If we're just saying United States in general, maybe Juneau, because it's like really tiny.
Well, yes, Alaska and Hawaii are very different. All right. Anyway, guys, we gotta stay on topic.
I'm not the one derailing us.
Sol Yee, a medical device salesman from Connecticut, and Teeny Churchillo. a freelance writer from New Jersey.
Cool name.
And then the Blue Tuku tribe, we have Carolyn Vidmar, a strategy consultant from Chicago. Gabe Ortiz, a radio show host from Baltimore. Kyle Ostwald, a construction worker from Michigan. Sue Smee, flight school owner from New York. TK Foster, an athlete marketing manager from Maryland. And Tiana Halooms from Hawaii, a flight attendant.
The first native Hawaiian.
First native Hawaiian. We've had Hawaiian contestants before, but they weren't originally from Hawaii.
Oh, yeah, we had Cody Livin a couple seasons ago, but he was not native Hawaiian.
Cody and Gio from 43.
Yeah,
both from Hawaii, but they weren't originally from Hawaii. That is our Motley Crew of 18. This is definitely a Motley Crew. Bunch of characters, which is good. So let's jump into this episode. So we get the opening challenge for camp supplies. Only first place gets it. And the Gata tribe is going to have a pretty epic comeback thanks to Annika and Rachel. They do the puzzle, and they destroy everyone and win it for their tribe. Really quick. Really nice performance from those two. So it's going to be a great episode for this tribe.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Nothing else is going to go wrong.
So each of the two losing tribes has to send someone to Mystery Adventure Island. Asia's going to volunteer for the Lavo tribe, and not representing well for Survivor podcasters right at the gate. Don't go on this. Bad.
Immediately discount any expertise right off the bat.
Yep.
You can tell that she specializes in Big Brother. I'm not throwing shade on you, Asia. I'm sorry.
I'm throwing shade.
I'm not throwing shade at her, the person. I'm just saying I wouldn't do this.
Well, we're almost never throwing shade at the people. We're throwing shade at the contestants. That's what we do.
Okay, and I will jump in here because this is as perfect a time as any. But we did get a question about this decision here from Brandon on Twitter. He says, why would Asia, who podcasts about Survivor, volunteer for the Hero Challenge?
Probably just like excitement to be on Survivor. It was a bad idea. It really was.
I think a big part of it is Survivor is not just how Josh, Derek, and Ryan would play it. So
you mean the correct way?
I allied, you ooped. I appreciate you for that, Ryan. Some people are really out there to try and make a name for themselves in terms of like, I'm going to play the biggest, loudest game that I can. I don't want to get lost. I would want to be like lost at first and find a way for the cream to rise to the top. That's the whole idea of creme de la creme, right? It's like the cream of the cream will come to the top.
Be funny in your confessionals. That'll get you screen time. Don't worry about the other stuff so much.
So yeah, step 1, be funny. In step 2, there is no step 2 if you're not funny. So
honestly, yeah. If you're not funny, if you're boring, well, you're not on the show anyway. But if you want to win, don't volunteer for this. At least, especially on episode 1. TK is going to lose the game of rock, paper, scissors, so he's going to go for the Tuku tribe.
Fair enough.
Better.
Yeah, not really his choice.
Yeah, I think he volunteered to play rock, paper, scissors, which isn't great, but like he lost.
Because I came down to 3 people, all of which volunteered. It's like, maybe don't do that.
Yeah, don't put yourself in that position. So it's not awesome. On Gatu, we're going to start with Andy and John. It's going to be probably our tight duo of the season, I feel like.
Yeah, it's going to last a while. They won't turn on each other.
They do bond right away because Andy is bi and John is gay. I'm like, oh, cool. This is like a great like starting point to bond and really create a tight alliance. But they're going to go off and talk on their own, leaving the other 4 plenty of time to talk behind their back. So we get Annika, Sam, Sierra, and Rachel kind of creating a 4-person alliance against those two.
And this kind of stays consistent all the way to the end of the episode.
All I'll say, it didn't seem like they were off doing their own thing for too long, but we did get some subtext from Rachel that Andy was trying to do this a lot.
Yeah.
Strategize with the people he was most comfortable with. We have no idea when or why Sierra brought this up, but the point is when she did, it sticks. I mean, we got in confessional from Andy. His strategy going in was to be everyone else's number 1, which usually isn't a great strategy.
Yep. On Tuku, we're going to have Gabe and Sue forming an alliance. Sue is the older woman on the tribe. Gabe wants to work with her because she might have more maturity, level-headedness.
You can rise above the fray, essentially, especially the fray of a chaotic game like modern era Survivor.
Yeah.
The new era.
And then Sue's also going to bond with Carolyn because kind of a mother-daughter kind of bond. So Sue's having a good first episode. She's a good bond with Gabe and Carolyn out the gate. So she might not be the initial target, which happens a lot on Survivor. So good for Sue.
Yes.
On Lavo, we're going to have Keyshawn and Teeny bonding. And really, Teeny bonds with everybody. Everybody really likes her. Seems like a lot of fun. yeah, everyone just seems to like her. Kind of reminds me of Elaine from Island of the Idols.
I was going to say Tommy from Island of the Idols, actually.
Oh, okay.
Because his whole first episode was, wow, I'm so good socially, everyone is coming to me with their plans. And we got to see that happen a couple times with Teeny this episode. So, I mean, very Tommy-esque. I'm not saying that she's going to win. I'm just saying,
I guess we're all going to pick Teeny as our winner picks.
I'm just saying, like, that's what I was feeling while I was consuming her edit. It's like, someone to watch.
And then we have Genevieve and Rome bonding as well. They get along pretty well. So far, so good for this tribe. Everyone seems to really like each other. But the Mystery Adventure Island Challenge is pretty fun. It's a 1v1 head-to-head, Asia versus TK, and they basically have to play find the thing hidden in the picture. And it's a race to find 4 keys. And it's really close, but TK ends up getting it just by a hair. I really thought Asia was going to pull it out there. It was close.
Well, Asia was ahead, but, she decided that she had to use a path instead of just going straight towards the ocean.
TK made his own path.
That's a choice. Yep.
If you're looking for the water, pro tip, go downhill. If you get lost, go downhill.
Listen for the waves.
Yep.
And make your own path.
Make your own path. But TK is going to get the camp supply for his tribe.
This is the first time, right, that we're not doing Sweat versus Savvy in the new era?
Yeah. I like that we're mixing it up.
Yeah. I'm glad we're mixing it up. And for the record, if this is the iteration for a couple seasons, anyone listening, go ahead and win this.
Win this one, for sure.
There is not a downside to winning this. And there's also not some weird, crazy lie that you need to come up with to try and hide things from your tribe mates. Unless they reiterate it to, like, you're going to take an advantage or you're going to take the supplies. They can do things here, but for now, if this is the versus, just win it.
And yeah, because if you lose, like, for Asia, like, she's going to have to go through the story of what happens here. And since she comes back with nothing, people could very easily think that she's just lying and that she maybe risked her vote or that she decided to go for something else and not the materials and lost.
Which is why we don't go to Mystery Adventure Island.
Try not to go unless you have to, or like you're in a bad spot. She's lucky that there's someone who's much more sus on her tribe. On Gatsu, it's kind of interesting. This doesn't happen super often, but we have Annika taking the leadership role. It's usually some alpha dude trying to take the leadership role, but Annika's going to take charge here. Don't do that. She even says, like, I wasn't going to do it, but that's who I am. I got to do it. It's like, okay, cool. Change who you are.
Those dang project managers, man. And good on Sam, because he recognizes it. He's like, I could be seen as the type of person who might fit into a leadership role, and I absolutely don't want that to be me.
These are classic Survivor rules that, honestly, they don't get brought up too much anymore. So I'm glad that we had a little bit of a resurfacing here. It's good to revisit. It's a remedial course for our listeners now as well. Don't be the leader.
Don't do it.
Didn't think we had to write that one down for you.
On Tuku, everyone is very happy with TK for getting the supplies. Like, if you're going to go to Mystery Adventure Island, come back with a bunch of camp supplies.
Have it not be your choice and come back with camp supplies and the flint.
So the guys immediately, like, really gravitate towards TK, which makes Carolyn worried about a possible guys alliance.
And Carolyn will remember you did that.
Yes.
Bro down. Boys night.
Hanging with the boys.
So good.
Busted out of the vault again. Let's go. Kenny Loggins.
Gabe is going to find the beware advantage. So he takes and loses his vote. He's got to go find a key up in some vines, and he's going to go for it. And TK walks up on him looking for it. And Gabe's going to, like, try and pretend like, oh, I got the key before the beware advantage. That's odd. That's weird.
I just saw it hanging up there.
And TK is like, okay, buddy.
Like, well, there's no rule that says you can't find the key before the box. They both play this moment well, but Gabe needs to relax a little bit. For all the things that his contemporary on the other tribe, Rome, did wrong, waiting until night was not a bad plan.
Yep. Chill. Like, unless you were about to go to tribal council, take it easy.
Well, and now is the time to bring this up. He did not follow his own advice. Gabe did not. He said, don't be hasty, which, by the way, Gabe, you think you slick. You ain't. 3 Lord of the Rings references in episode 1. I am on to you. We have My Precious, we have Don't Be Hasty, and we have Get Off the Road. I think he may have said Get Off the Path, but, like, the cadence was Frodo from Fellowship. I was like, you ain't slick. You ain't slick, dude. So anyway, keep watch for that. Keep a watchful eye on that horizon. That's Pirates of the Caribbean.
That's on you to keep track of.
Yeah,
so I have no idea.
Sauron, and you gotta keep an eye on Gabe.
Yeah, the evil eye turned on me. So we had 4. Oh my goodness. But that one was at least John Lovett.
So yeah, TK does not believe that Gabe was. This was an accident.
Press X to doubt.
Yeah, TK doubt. So over on Lavo, Teeny's actually heard of Asia's podcast. So nice bonding moment for these two. Good for Asia. She needs this.
Well, and I like Teeny's approach too. She could, come off a little bit threatening if she wanted to, and have this information and kind of hold it against her. But she uses it instead and she comes out and says, "I don't want to, expose you." Basically, if no one else knows about this. So just wanted to say, love the show.
Yep.
I'm gonna say it. I think that if there's a better way to bond with Aisha, maybe you should bond that way and keep this information to yourself, because this is something that you can keep in your back pocket if you find out that Asia does not want to work with you. So I think it's just like, hey, you have this is your secret. You don't have to out it to that person immediately.
But Teeny's reasoning for that was, if she outs Asia, she outs herself as a super fan, because who listens to Survivor podcast besides Survivor superfans? That was her rationale.
I understand the rationale, but the mutually assured destruction, only one person has a button. It's not mutually assured destruction if one person has a button. That's the thing about being a podcast host. I haven't thought about this at all. Who's talking about going on Survivor one day and being a little bit worried that people think that you talk about Survivor in your free time way too much? If someone came up to me and said, "Hey, I listened to your podcast," I would be pretty scared. I'm going to be honest, and I know that puts me in trouble on a meta level to talk about this right now, because they would know, and then they might be able to out me. I would rather them keep it a secret and we just play the game together, and hopefully they want to work with me. And hopefully I've made a good enough relationship with them to climb that mountain. I don't know, the summit.
The summit.
Rome's gonna go idol hunting, and he is not slick. Everyone knows what he's doing. They are talking behind his back. Asia's gonna see him looking for one of the clues later. He finds the board advantage, and he decides to look during the night for the next part, so he doesn't get caught. Okay, cool. Yes, you don't have to do it all at once. Be little here and there. But again, I still wouldn't look for it this early, especially look at the last few seasons. This hasn't worked out for anybody. There's a pattern here. We have enough days, especially in 46.
Yeah, wait until, if you're going to do it here in the first couple of days, wait until you lose.
Yep.
If you lose, sure, go off and do it. If you win, you have another 2 or 3 days in order to find this, or just kind of stumble across, finding a little extra time when people are a lot more relaxed and sitting back and just having those casual conversations, and you can just go adventure.
Social game, everybody. But yeah, he's eventually going to find the next part of the key hidden in the bottom of a well. And everyone sees him looking for it, and he just is not slick at all. So, everyone kind of, besides Genevieve, everyone else kind of bonds against him.
And it's funny, I'll give him a slight bit of, not necessarily credit, but I'll be a little nice to him, just because they're gonna criticize him for going the other way when they are kind of walking up to him, or getting close. If you look closely, you can see water dripping from his hair. It's it wouldn't have been good. It wouldn't have been good for him to start talking and interacting with him while his head is wet.
But this was so preventable. You find one piece at a time. Oh, go get something from the well. Oh, guys, I'll go get some water for everybody. He didn't have to do this all at once. He had broken it up once already. Do it again. Break it up into pieces. There isn't really a rush. You have days. But again, don't look for it. Bad. So Rome is in a very bad spot.
Whoops.
So, on Taku, Gabe is going to tell Sue about the board advantage. And I think he's doing some preventative measures because TK knows about the key and stuff. So he wants to tell his closest ally before TK can beat him to the punch. Gabe dug himself a hole. I like that he tells Sue he really needs to get this thing and burn it. He's already just caused too much damage for himself. He needs to get it and get rid of it fast. So I don't mind that he tells Sue he's going to get the box open. And so he gets his vote back. And he gets an idol for 1 tribal council. But he can do another task. If he sacrifices his idol here, he can go for a idol that's good for 3. A box within a box. So he's going to go for it. And he's like, okay, I got to hide this box. And then he accidentally knocks it down the hill that he's sitting on. And everybody hears it what's he doing up in the hill?
What is he doing? I don't want to gloss over this too quickly, because it's very common that we can just say oh, hey, don't do this. And this is maybe how you get out of it. You said you don't mind Gabe bringing Sue in to kind of mitigate the potential damage of TK knowing about the key anyway, or the ancillary proximity to whatever advantage exists out in the woods. Maybe it's a birdcage at this point because nobody knows. I think that after TK catches you with the key and you think that he's kind of sussed you out, you need to get TK out of here as soon as possible because it's your word against his, and you have to assume that everyone's going to know about this. You need to say, I can't believe he would say that about me, and you need to find a way to get TK out. Even if TK is not talking badly about you, I think the manner in which Gabe was caught, he needs TK gone.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any way around it. I think you've dug that hole. The only way out is to get rid of the one person who knows.
But TK has to start talking for that to work. If Gabe just starts throwing shade against TK, everybody's gonna be like, why? What did he do? So TK's got to make a mistake for Gabe to really make that work. Also, TK is probably your biggest guy. Like, just trying to get TK out at this point, that seems like a tall order.
Maybe you just share all the information with him. Like,
Maybe
you're that close already. Be like, I mean, you can't say like, I had it the entire time. Ha 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 ha. Like, maybe you just kind of buy into the original story and say like, hey, I found the advantage.
Yeah.
Like, I found the actual advantage, found the box, paired up this lock. Here we go.
Try and really make this commit and then get rid of it fast and never fully trust TK.
Don't open up the second box.
Yeah.
Keep it at the first level, burn it at the first tribal, call it a day.
What's really hard for me is if you want to maintain credibility with the rest of your tribe, I think TK has to go. Because even the threat of it being out there is a potential game
it's just
crusher.
hard to do.
I don't think you can do it.
He would have to, like you said, TK would kind of have to bring it up first and start throwing him under the bus, and you have to be like, wait, he's saying I have an idol. Why would he say that? That's kind of a goofy thing for him to say. Why is he targeting me? We were close. Yep. You saw us. We were kind of broing out. I don't understand why this is happening. I need to get TK out. So
but that hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't happened yet. I'm just saying the threat of it being out there is too big for Gabe to ignore.
100%.
This is public enemy number one for Gabe.
Sure. But I don't think he can do anything about it yet. On Gata, Andy wants to work with Rachel, but Rachel's worried about how much of an eager beaver Andy is. He's just like really ready to talk to anybody and really like jump in. And he's like, hey, let's get up really early in the morning and go talk and do yoga in the morning. She's like, no, that's suspicious. I'm not going to do that. And then to make things worse, Andy can't sleep during the night because he's having really negative thoughts. He's spiraling. This is really... I've seen behavior like this before in myself. If you accidentally go off your medication and then the anxiety and the negative thoughts start spiraling and you just get in your head and then you can't sleep, Andy wakes Rachel up in the middle of the night to like talk about it. And she's like, this is exactly what I didn't want to happen.
Yeah, and to be clear, we're not talking about like Andy for sure being on medication or anything like that. It's just like we know what it's like. And Ryan is speaking from personal experience. This is what a spiral looks like.
Oh, yeah.
Where you go into this tailspin and everyone around you, if anyone's near you, you might end up bringing them down with you. Yeah. And it's starting. And
it's really not good.
And it's honestly kind of hard to watch.
Yep.
It's a different kind of hard to watch, some of the darker moments in Survivor, but it still is hard to watch.
He thinks everyone hates him. He thinks no one likes him. And he's going next for sure. And so it's self-fulfilling almost because Rachel and John are both like, I don't know if we can work with this guy.
It's self-feeding is what it is. It's this monster that feeds itself and grows bigger and bigger and bigger until there's no hiding it anymore.
Just speaking it into existence, basically.
Absolutely. And, if you want to practice empathy for a second, remember that this kid, I don't know how old Andy is, but I'll just, this guy, his dream is to be on Survivor. And he is now tail spinning, thinking that he's on the outs. Nobody cares. Nobody likes him. And there's nothing he can do about it. Just imagine that for a second. And then
night 2?
Yeah, and then tell me that like there isn't a chance of you spiraling as well. It's an exercise in futility.
He's 31.
He's my age.
Immunity challenge. Hilarious immunity challenge because they have to get on boats, paddle to shore, pick up these treasure chests along the way. Both Taku and Gata sink their boats along the way.
They both capsized their boat. This was the last general note that I took on the episode that wasn't tribe specific. Everybody's capsizing.
You see Tuku go down, and you're like, oh man, like they're screwed. How are they going to be able to, come back from this? And then 2 seconds later, Gata's just like, and there they go.
And one of the funnier, subtle parts of this episode is Lavo just finishing the challenge.
There's no fanfare like, oh, they won because it was so not close at all.
They won before either other boat was up the beach.
Yeah, they just slaughtered.
They're like, oh, they're unloading their pieces, and then you cut to the other boats, and they're still capsized, and then you cut back, and puzzle's finished.
No, Lavo's done.
And while the other two tribes are working on the puzzle, Andy is going to collapse, and it looks like heat exhaustion, just overworked. So
It's a heavy boat.
Heavy boat.
I think there's a lot of other stuff going on here as
Yeah.
well on top of the, completely speculating here, but I think that there's just so much going on with him where maybe he's just super overwhelmed by heat and other things.
Yep. Medical gets called in, but he's going to be fine. But Taku is going to win, sending Gata to tribal council. When Andy gets back to his tribe, and we're debriefing after the challenge as we do, Andy just starts jabbering about how he thought he was in danger, and his closest ally was John, and he was going to throw John onto the bus to survive. It's just like, nobody. Andy.
Yes, nobody. Andy, I really had a great time. This is my dream. I was going to throw my buddy under the bus, but I don't know if I can do that. And man, oh man, this is Survivor. Hey!
What? Andy, stop.
I mean, Jeff just started tap dancing, I swear.
Actually, yeah, I don't even know what people's reactions were to this because I had my hands over my eyes. Like, I could not watch it.
It was bad.
It was like, I'm like, oh my gosh.
This is a bad early meltdown.
I want to go on record right here because I think this is very important. If this had happened back at camp, there's a way that you can contain this beast and not have it blow up in your face down the road. John is going to go home tonight. You are sending a message to the other two tribes that Andy is still here. If I'm on one of those two tribes, I don't trust almost any of your decision making.
Yeah.
I am going to need to debrief with all of you in some capacity to understand why Andy is still here.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big reaction, I would guess, in the next episode when like, come on in, Gata. John voted out and like, wait, Andy's still here?
Yeah,
what the hell?
It's all this fanfare for nothing sort of thing, but it ended like being for something because in a way, Andy saved himself by being himself, but he isn't winning.
Well, and this is where if you're on the other tribes, you're almost viewing it as like they're almost like weaponizing it a little bit as far as like bringing him in and they're going to be kind of like dragging him along. At least that's the mindset that they have to think that these guys are operating under because why would Andy be there otherwise?
Yeah. So to go back to the point, because this was public in front of the other two tribes, I'm going to say it right here. This needs to be Andy.
Yep.
You babysit Andy. Honestly, you get together as a 5 and you say, we're telling Andy he's going home. We are babysitting him so that he does not find an idol. If he has one already, we're going to chance that.
He could play shot in the dark.
He could play shot in the dark. I totally get that. Take the odds. I'll take the spread.
I have a better solution, which we'll get to shortly.
Fair enough. But I just want everyone to know at this point, this is my headspace if I'm on Andy's tribe.
So back at camp, everyone is obviously very worried about Andy. So Rachel's gonna tell John like, "Hey, we're gonna tell Andy it's you because that's who he was gonna throw you under the bus. So we're gonna say it's you, and that we're gonna vote out Andy."
First of all, don't like that. Don't
like
tell
that.
someone that it's gonna be you're the backup.
Just say we're taking out Andy, and if somebody asks, like, just go with whoever he wants.
Yep.
Yes.
Let him suggest the idea. That's the best way to handle that.
Which apparently is Annika.
Yeah, Andy wants Annika out. John is worried that he's the backup vote, so he's gonna talk to Andy, and he's gonna try and get Annika out instead. Now, what John could have done here is because these two are legitimately gonna go try and target Annika. They're gonna try and pull Sam. They're gonna pull Sierra. It's not gonna work. John could have gone to Andy and said, "Hey, let's take out Annika." Cool, and then John stops. And then in case Andy finds an idol, whatever, Annika's the one who goes instead. Cool. If John had stopped there, he might still be in this game.
I agree.
I think he actually would be, and I'll tweak that a little bit because he does everything right for a little bit.
Yep.
Because he doesn't bring up Annika. He asks Andy, and Andy says Annika.
Yep.
I think you end the conversation there. It's like, great, like let's go for that. Maybe you let Andy go and try to make it be Annika on his own. And then kind of let him blow up his own game, even though it's supposed to already be him. Like, Let him bury himself even further. Meanwhile, if you even need to, John can go and just kind of be casually hanging out at the shelter and mention like, yeah, I was talking to Andy and he mentioned your name.
Yeah.
There's a much more casual and subtle way to do this. And I think that if he would have done that, or really anything less than what he did in this episode, John wouldn't have gone home.
Textbook example of doing too much.
Yep.
I think even Andy being the super fan that he seems to be, especially with the reverence that he talked about Survivor, and John as well, John could probably say to Andy, like, hey man, you are in a little bit of a hole here, but if you can get the numbers, I will vote Annika with you.
Sure.
But I'm going to go keep it cool because otherwise people are going to see us scheming. Right now, they don't think you're up to something. Let's keep it that way. But you go get the numbers.
There was a billion better ways for John to do this. That's the point.
Textbook of overdoing
and
it.
everyone is going to be like, maybe we should take John out instead because he's playing real hard. And at this point, if I'm the other four, Andy still needs to absolutely go, but you could split the vote on Andy and John just in case of an idol on that point. But we're going to go to Tribal Council, and it's going to be 5 votes for John, 1 vote for Annika. This was such the wrong move. This should have been Andy with a split vote on John.
And there's barely a conversation, it seemed like. They're debating between, keeping John around because, you never know what's going to happen with Andy and any interactions that he has with other tribes versus, well, yeah, but he's strong. And that was at least what was presented to us as the only reason. I think there has to be more going on here. I feel like they thought that maybe John was a bigger threat and just kind of taking out a big threat so they could have someone to maybe drag along. I don't know, but it just seemed like such a bad move.
So my first thing is like let's eat what the edit fed us for a second here. Be more like Jeremy at the end of Second Chances, where it's like, I don't want to be the backup vote, and be less like David at the beginning of Kagiyan, where you're just like guns ablazing, overplaying your hand way too much. We did get one clue from John saying that he also was not vibing with the tribe.
Because he's older.
Now, whether that... Well, not necessarily because it was... He said he was older and he was trying to connect with the young people, and then we got a clip of him doing that. But later towards the end, when he was kind of tail spinning with Andy, he said, I'm not really socially fitting in with this tribe either.
And I think it's because he was older.
It might be. It might be. And if that's the case, then this vote was actually... We don't really vibe with either of these two, and at least Andy is stronger. Andy is still the right move. But there is, I think, that one little piece of subtext that maybe John was not vibing with them either.
I don't think anyone was willing to go to bat to save John.
Correct.
When somebody pushed for John. But I do think the easy, safe solution, split vote between Andy and John.
Who was the first person to suggest it? Was it Sam?
I think it was Sam. Yeah. Sam and Sierra. I think Sam was first. Because
really, Rachel was the only person to what felt like really push back on this idea. Obviously, she didn't get her way or anything, but it seemed like she was the only one that popped up to me.
And one other note that I have written down on this, depending on how Sam frames this, like, does it get back to Annika that John is targeting her? Kind of, like, even indirectly. And if that's the case...
Which is why this approach was terrible from him.
Is it the right move for Annika to go home? If everyone plays ideally, it's easy Andy because John doesn't overplay his hand. But if Annika finds out that John is targeting her with Andy, then it has to be John.
All right, fine, but then at least split the vote.
And I agree with that. Like, but it's just it's so convoluted and it's almost a shame we didn't get more.
Let's get to best worst player of the episode. Derek, who do you got for best player?
For best player, I have Teeny. I felt like she vibed with everybody on her tribe, and we got the great confessionals, and she's linked up with, I think, 3 other people. They seem to be a strong foursome moving forward, and I'm impressed.
I also had Teeny for all those reasons. Nothing to add.
I was kind of really debating. I'm going to agree with you guys on Teeny, but the 3 I was debating between were Teeny, Sue, and TK. I liked all 3 of them a lot. Ultimately, I'm going to go with Teeny. Yeah, I really got nothing else to add. I think it was her really, really great social game. Mm-hmm. So ultimately, Teeny.
Sue was an honorable mention of mine. She was more passive in the edit, so I kind of attributed what happened to her more to Carolyn and to Gabe.
Yep, but just her social game working out for her. Yep. And TK, he made some questionable decisions, but he played the route he chose to play. He played it about as well as he could have.
Yep.
It's just not a route I would play.
Yep.
But I'll give him credit for that. So all 3 of them, I think, were very, very good. Worst player, Josh, who do you got?
It's Andy.
Yeah, it's Andy.
Yeah, it's Andy. Anyway,
Moving on.
Let's get into who is going next. Let's take a look at each of these tribes and figure out who is going next. I will start us off over on the Gata tribe. It's Andy.
Yeah.
yeah, it's Andy.
Yeah.
All right, Derek,
And moving on.
take us over to Lavo.
For Lavo, I've got a who and a how. I've got Keyshawn going next, and I have it going because Rome idles him out. The only reason being like, okay, if Rome is going to play his idol, I know that he connected with Genevieve, and so I was like, okay, it's got to be maybe someone else that we didn't get much of an edit from. So that's the only reason that I picked Keyshawn.
Okay.
And I figured that he wouldn't target Genevieve if he played his idol to save himself. That was the only reason why.
Okay.
So Rome has found 2 keys. After the second key that he found in the bottom of the well, we didn't see anything after that. I think
You know
we
what?
missed something.
It might have been the second key, but I think the first key was found when we
Yeah.
we lost our tornado.
I thought I saw something about
Okay.
a second clue.
We had a severe weather alert interrupt our programming for about 3 minutes. So if Rome found a first key and then immediately jumped headfirst into the second key where he was fishing in the well,
Yep.
we missed that.
Yeah, there's a little bit of confusion there.
Regardless, we didn't see anything after he grabbed the key from the well.
Yeah.
We don't know if he's going to put that idol into the box and grab a new
Yeah.
clue.
I don't think we saw that.
We didn't see anything after the water well as far as I know. So I think that he is going to get stuck at that stage. Whatever stage he's at, he's going to get greedy and then get stuck there. And he's going to go home in the middle of the idol hunt.
with no vote.
I think that's also very likely. I think Rome is going as well.
I'm not going to fight you.
So Keyshawn, Rome.
Yep.
I think
and if he does either choose to stop or advances to the next step and finds the next idol and whatever ends up happening, he's going to go home with the idol in his pocket.
There's been a lot of that lately.
I have Rome getting most of the votes.
All right, Josh, take us over to Taku.
This was the hardest one.
Taco? What is it? Taku?
Tuku.
Tuku. Josh, take us over to Tuku.
This is a tough one just because I don't think there's necessarily anyone on the outs. There's candidates who could be, but it's a lot of just one-on-one relationships and no one's talking about them, especially with like Gabe and TK. I'm going to go a little bit off the board with someone we haven't seen a whole lot from, and that's Kyle.
Okay.
Just because.
I feel like this could blow up in Gabe's face. He seems kind of sloppy, so Gabe's my pick.
Well, I have Gabe getting votes and Tiana going home.
Okay.
So Gabe gets the votes, but he idles Tiana out of the game. And I think he's just going to pick a girl that he's not close with.
Sure. Could be. All right, let's get into who cannot win this game. One of these 17 people cannot win this game. Actually, technically it's 2, but, only one. We're only going to talk about one. Who is the one person we think that cannot win this game? It's Andy.
I'm just going to jump right into that personalized Derek section because who can't win is Andy, and I'm going to stick a fork in him week 1.
Damn.
So he has a fork stuck in him that he's not winning. I'm planting my flag there that no matter who is maybe on the bottom based on how we play this particular game, everyone remember, I don't think Andy can win either.
Yeah, let's go back to I think just last season in the premiere when Jeff said someone here can't win the game.
Mm-hmm.
And it could just be because of who you are. It could be your personality
In this mix.
In this mix,
Yep.
exactly. That's Andy, dude. It might just be who you are, your personality, how you get along with either other people in general or this group of people. Sorry.
All right, let's get into the survivor pool. Josh, you'll get to compete again.
Yeah.
So-
real good times. And I guess just a quick recap. We have now been doing this this is going to be season number 5. And as a recap, we're pretty split across the board. Me, Derek, and Ryan all have 1 win under our belts, except for last season. Do you guys remember who won last season?
Derek ended up winning last season.
It was Derek. So Derek, technically, if you want to go like all-time leaderboards
Derek's
here,
got 2.
Derek's got 2 wins. Me and Ryan have 1.
2 consecutive, I might say.
So what we're doing here is we're picking one person we think is not going to go home in this next episode, and we cannot pick that person again. So it's a one and done, and we move on. Derek, start us off. Who is the one person who you think is not going home in the next episode?
I know y'all are coming for my head, so we're gonna go ahead and bite the poison pill. I'm gonna go with Gabe.
All right.
Ooh.
He's not long for this world, but for now, he has an idol.
Well, technically, he doesn't have an idol.
Well,
right
you're
now.
right. You're right. He has a key for now, but
Yeah.
he has the key, so he can open the box. I'm satisfied with this for now.
Okay.
All right, interesting.
High risk, high reward.
High risk, high reward. I'm going with someone who we only mentioned once so far in this entire podcast, and it was when we were introducing the casts, and that's Soul.
Okay. That seems like a safe pick. What I like to do with this is I like to go for the people who have idols. The hardware, I like to pick them first, just because they feel like the safest. We don't have someone who's got the full hardware yet. The closest we have are Rome and Gabe, who have keys. So I'm going to go with a very risky pick here, I think. I'm going to pick Rome.
Ooh, I was doing Rome or Gabe, so
And the reason, my rationale between Rome and Gabe, because those are my final two. Gabe, I will probably get the idol that's good for 3. Perfect. Little maneuver, false insecurity, and blindside him because he's got 3 times. He'll get scared and not play when he needs to. As of now, unless there was something we missed when the tornado alert was on, Rome is on the track to get the first one. And if you only have it good for 1, you might as well play it. So I'm going to go psychologically. I think Rome is more likely to play the idol than Gabe. So I'm going to pick a Rome and probably be out next week.
And the way I did my tiebreaker, because I was choosing between those two, I looked at the tribe that on paper I think is least likely to succeed in a team challenge. And Lover, having a 51-year-old woman on your tribe might make it a little bit more difficult for you to win. And same thing if you have a 51-year-old man. Like whoever has the most elder statesmen on their tribe is going to have a tougher time to the top.
But
she could sit out.
She could sit out.
She could sit out. You're absolutely right. That's why I say I'm looking at it on paper.
Right.
And
so that's why you pick someone on that tribe?
I was tie breaking between Rome and Gabe.
Oh.
Like I was picking Rome, I was picking Gabe. I wasn't picking anybody else.
Yeah, but Sue's on Gabe's tribe.
I know that. That's why I picked Gabe, because he will have to use his idol.
Okay.
Oh. It's an interesting logic here
from
both
the
of
logic feels a little bit backwards.
From
It's
both of
it's
you.
not, because I actively wanted the person who was going to play his idol.
Okay.
If anyone wants to play along, send us a message, a DM or whatever with your picks each week.
All right, last thing we got to do is we got to get into our winner picks. Who is winning this season? Josh, who's your winner pick? Yeah, Josh was really struggling with this one. He hadn't made his decision going into the podcast.
Yeah, I had not made my decision. I had a couple of finalists that I had put down here. Basically, what I'm having a hard time with here is I don't see a winner. I don't see a winner on this entire cast. That's mostly because of the editing, I would say. There's been a lot of questionable gameplay. I have a hard time picking like anyone on Gata, for example. If I would pick anyone, it would be Rachel, I think, on that side. From Lavo, Teeny stands out to me, but I could see that backfiring on her, that she's just gets along with too many people and is seen as a big threat. And then I kind of liked TK over there on Tuku as well, but I think I'm gonna go a little bit under the radar here, just because I don't feel confident in anyone else. I'm gonna go with Keyshawn.
Okay. Josh is locked in with Keyshawn. Did not see this one coming.
And I have him going next.
That would be hilarious. Okay.
So
Keyshawn.
We'll see.
I had one person I liked from each tribe. It was really close. Initially, I thought Rachel from Gata, but the one thing I'm worried about with her is Andy could go nuts again and target her for some reason. So I'm worried that Rachel could just get destroyed in a backfired plan. I like Sue a lot from Taka to Tuku, whatever the heck it's called. Toucan. The Tuku tribe. I like Sue a lot. I think she's got a good social game, but ultimately I am going to go with Teeny as my winner pick.
That's the safe pick, I think.
If I was pulling a Tommy here, I would have gone with Teeny, but
Hey, Tommy won.
He did.
That one, but that season, man, that opening episode, it was easier. It was easier.
But was it much different than this, or are we just thinking too hard about it? Maybe.
Derek, what do you got?
Yeah, I want to give an honorable mention because I don't know who this was, but there was a male voiceover at the beginning that said he is here to write his Survivor story. I have no idea who said it because there was no face on it. That person very well may win Survivor. That said, don't know who that was. My 4 finalists were Rachel, TK, Teeny, and Survivor podcaster Asia. And I'm going to go with Asia because I think Teeny's too obvious. I think that TK is your classic merge boot. I think I am not picking anybody from Gata to win after Andy did not go home. And I think that's a really bad look, and it puts them all on their back foot. there was that moment between Aisha and Teeny where it was Tina confessing to Aisha and one of them saying, like, this is the kind of person who can burn you if you let them get too close. I think it just shows a little bit of insight that down the road, there's going to be something with Aisha and Teeny. And whoever comes out on top, I think will be in the prime position to win the game. And I'm just thinking it's going to be Aisha. I can't tell you why. It's just a feeling that I have. So I'm going with Aisha.
All right. We'll see how this goes for us. That's the first episode. We're off and running. It's exciting. I wonder what's going to happen next.
I always love a new season.
Oh, it's always great. Especially when you don't have a quit in the first episode. I'm looking at you, 45. 1 year ago, that's where we were at. Guys, social media.
Yeah, like I said, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Castaway Pod. You can send us DMs on those or really anywhere else. Since we have Facebook and YouTube where we post our videos, which is Castaway Consultants. TikTok is Castaway Consultants. Feel free to participate in any of the awards that we do or games that we do with winner picks. Survivor pool, any of that stuff down the line. And as always, we'll answer anything on the podcast too.
Yep, and I'll jump in on Spotify and say that they have completely changed the interface, so I can't do polls or short answers anymore for right now. I don't know if it's because we're not the biggest podcast on the planet, but I can't post anything right now.
We'll keep an eye on that.
You can post general comments, so feel free to leave a general comment to that canned response at the end of the episode. We will read them. We will publish them if we love them. But I can't do anything specific. So Spotify, what the heck, man?
All right. Anything else, guys?
Watch out for Ryan's blog.
Yep. I'll be dropping my blog tomorrow. I'll write that in a few hours.
And then, a bit of homework. If you're a Survivor player and you listen to us, reach out. We won't tell anyone. And mention us one time on Reddit if you think about it. Or if you think of it.
And then anyone who ever gets on Survivor, mention us.
Just say something surreptitious like, I may not be a Castaway Consultant.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, there were 2 podcasts that got actually name dropped in this episode. Come on, guys. One more.
Yep, let's do us next. We deserve it.
We're here. 5 years.
All right. This has been the Castaway Consultants.
Got nothing else for you.
Good night.